attempt, no sound. Going back to what we used to go through when I was doing these horizontals. So I'll keep talking and then you can tell me if you hear sound or not. Thanks for the email. Right? That's how I got notified that there was no sound. Let me check. I'm going to check to see. I skipped that part. All right. So let's see here. Sound is good. Audio is on. Sound is good. We have sound now. Hello, hello. Okay, so we do have sound. I don't like this when there's sound, when there's sometimes sound and sometimes not sound. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's see who's in the chat. Alan is the first one. Mr. Jim Dockenstein, Chris Cox, Scott Goldsberry, Alan Cole, our moderator. Mr. Jim is here. Dakota Horn is here. Stoneface, yay. Alan Young, Tommy Taylor, Graylin Landry, Mr. Jim, Alan Young, I think Lance McIlwain. All right, we got sound. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. I can't tell when we have sound or not unless I check on my other phone, and I did not check. So I was just starting to get into this anyway. It's not a big deal. You didn't miss much, right? Hopefully. I didn't explain very much. I was just saying that I'm going to go slow with this. Okay, so here we go. Round 2. All right, so let's see. Okay, we got sound now. So I got heat treat. This is Texas Chert heat treat. Now, it's not always available. I can get this from a friend of mine. I don't know what it's called. And even if I told you what it was called, it wouldn't matter because you can't get it. This stuff is on private property. You might be able to get something similar, but you won't be able to get exactly the same type. So it don't matter what it's called since you can't get it. Yeah. And there's a lot of stone like that. There's a lot of stone like that out there where it's only available to a few people. Is this really great, tremendously fantastic, and awesome stuff? No, there's other stuff that's better than this in Texas. This has got defects and got concrete pockets, and sometimes it's cracked, especially these larger pieces. I measured this. I think it was 5 and something inches. Yeah, 5 3/4. I can get big chunks of this, but it's got to be spalled down before it's heat treated. And this is a little bit larger than what I would normally do. I did not heat treat this. This was heat treated by a friend of mine named Don, and he did a good job. I was removing some flakes earlier, and he did a good job on this, it seems, as far as the heat treat. It varies. We have to experiment with this stuff. Sometimes it'll heat treat at a low temperature, sometimes at a high temperature. You never know. And yeah, you get these natural cracks in there sometimes. So it's unpredictable. I don't like to heat treat something large like this because sometimes on the inside it gets stressed and it has internal issues. You can't get it thinned down because it'll break unexpectedly in these weird ways. Like right there. There's some weirdness there. But we're going to get this narrowed down. I'm going to go slow since this is practice for me, and I can't rely on my subconscious to do the napping because I'm relearning this. So I got to pick up on the subtleties of using hammerstones, antlers, and whatnot. Okay? There are subtle differences that make a big difference when napping. Subtle differences in the tools can make big differences in the napping. Okay? And if I go slow, it's easier for me to remember what I'm doing. And one thing to keep in mind if you're new is it's hard to conserve material with these natural tools because the impact areas are larger on the natural tools, and the pressure flakers have to be thicker because they break. The copper can be thinned down and made more pointy and be smaller as far as the impact area because it will not break. But like on a previous live stream, I snapped this, or not snapped it, I broke this hammerstone. See that? That doesn't happen with copper. It happens with these. And this is one of my sweet hammerstones because it has just the right consistency that I like. Okay, let me put a garter on my, not a garter, what is it called? Gator. Put a gator on my right foot so I don't get flakes down in there in my boot. Yeah, people ask me, what do I do? Why do I do this? For some reason, I always get flakes in my right shoe or whatever I'm wearing. It's not so bad on the left. This one stays, down, but this one, I guess when I put stuff behind my knee, it lifts up the pant leg. So, all right, let's see. Let's continue with this. Let's continue making a mess. All right, so I'll check the chat from time to time, but this is mostly for me for practice, so I can't be looking at the chat too much. But since I'm going to be practicing, and I might as well film it. It's more difficult for me to relearn this while filming, but I think it's productive. Yeah. In other ways, it's productive as far as uploading content. Yeah, I can upload every day now. I have an excuse to upload every day now. Let's see. This is not consistent, but the heat treatment makes it better. I should probably switch over to antler. Yeah, let's see. It's all experimentation. I don't know what works well or not well until I finally get down to the last stage of thinning. And then I know what tools worked well for this particular piece. But every time I get a new piece, I've got to start over again with experimenting to see what works well with each piece that I'm napping. So there's no way for me to tell you exactly what to use every time you nap. Okay? Because every napping session is different. Some guys think that I might be holding out because I don't tell you what you should be using for napping. You should be experimenting. That's what you should be doing with everything, with the heat treatment, with the napping, with the testing out in the field, the stones that you collect yourself. When you go to nap-ins, ask questions about the stones. Everything is experimental. There's no set anything. it's not like following a recipe where you just go to the store and you buy a certain ingredient or certain ingredients, and that's what you get. What you see is what you get. And then you can follow a recipe and get good results. Flintknapping is not like that. Okay? All right. I like to say that Flintknapping is try or try not. There is no do. It's not like you can predict with certainty what's going to happen. Not like you can when you follow recipes. Okay? Or when you follow instructions. If you want to build some cabinets, you can follow instructions. You can use certain types of wood, certain types of tools, and have good results. Certain types of finishes. Everything can be set in an instruction manual, and you can follow the instructions and get good results. Flintknapping is not that way. It requires practice. It's more like a sport than anything else. Okay? All right. This is working good. I'm using mostly axis deer antler, which is difficult for me to get. Okay? I can get it, but I can only get it once a year. Okay? And I'm lucky to have a contact who has a ranch where he raises axis deer for hunters so they can hunt exotics. Okay? And every year, the deer that don't get shot, they shed their antlers, and he and his dog go out and collect the sheds, and they stack them up in his storage barn, and he often either sells them or gives them away to taxidermists who need them. Especially for repairing damaged antlers on certain trophy mounts. Not all antlers are perfect, so taxidermists will often repair antlers using sheds that are complete. You know, you can shoot a trophy deer, but one side is not perfect. It's got some breaks or whatever. So the taxidermist will attempt to repair damaged antlers so your trophy can look good. Yeah. Anyways, I can get axis deer from that guy, axis deer antlers. Hopefully, when I go back in October, I can get some more sinew and some access to carcasses, and I can maybe do a little bit of butchering type of things with the natural tools. I have to get good at archery too, get back into shooting bows and arrows. It's been a long time since I've been good at shooting with a bow. So I'm going to get back into that this summer. I don't know if I mentioned, but I finished a bow today for a friend that's been waiting 2 years, and I've got another bow for a friend that's been waiting 7 years. I got to finish that by the end of the month, and then move on to other bows. Yeah. What am I doing with these? I'm collecting the nice flakes in here. And these are all nice flakes because it's a heat treat. Oh, yes. This side is crunchy, but this side is not. What, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It might start getting crunchy everywhere as it gets thinner. I'll check the chat in a minute. Let me get the easy part done first. Now, have I seen artifacts made of this stuff? Actually, yes. I've seen a few made from stuff that looks like this. I don't know if it's exactly the same. But I've seen some artifacts that apparently were made from heat treat that looks like this. And this does change the color slightly when heated. When it's not heated, it's a little bit more gray. When you heat it, it gets a little bit darker. So that's one way to tell it's heat treated with this particular stuff. That's not a good flake, but I put it in there anyway. I just threw it in there. It's not that great of a flake. It's kind of small. These can be whittled down into arrowheads. Little ones, little Herald points or Toya points. Yeah. I've seen a couple of Herald points, I think, out of this stuff, and maybe a Perdice or two. Maybe. Yeah. I can make little Perdice points and stuff. I'm saving up flakes for Knappings, so I can bring some flakes to Knappings, so we have some available for people who ask. So I am going to start saving those for Knappings. Let me just get rid of all the Cortex and I'll check the chat. All right, so when I check the chat, that's when you guys can ask questions. And I'll try to answer questions. Let's see, what do we got so far? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, guys, we're just talking to each other. And I could also try and tell you what I'm using for my tools, but you probably won't be able to get these either, the same as mine. So even if I told you what I'm using, you might not be able to get them. So the object is to experiment. Besides, even if I told you what I'm using, it might not work on your stone. Okay, and I can tell you everything. I can guess when I don't know, just so I can provide an answer, because some people just want answers. They don't really care about accuracy, or they don't think about it. They just want an answer. I can do that, but I wouldn't feel good about it. Yeah, that's one of the ways. One of the ways you sell your soul for views is if you just provide answers without accuracy. And yeah, this is the abrading stone, but it can also be a hammerstone. It works pretty good for the smaller flakes. The kind of flakes that get rid of the lumps along the edges. Just the small flakes. I just got to be careful that I don't create too many step fractures that'll be difficult to eliminate later. I mean, this doesn't work perfectly, but it's fast. Yeah. And fast keeps my interest. That's the advantage of doing something quickly, even though it might not be the best way to do it. If I start to get bored, the Flintknapping suffers in other ways. If I get bored, it suffers in worse ways than using an inadequate tool. You know what I mean? So I'm just preparing the edge, getting rid of the delicate spots. For the next round of flakes, I'm going to use indirect percussion for the next round of flakes. All right, so that's what I call the easy part. That's the easy part's done. And now I'll check the chat because we're moving on to a different mindset and different skill set. Okay. Let me see. Let's clean up a little bit. You know my routine. The people that have seen my videos. And on these videos with the natural tools, I'm a little bit more serious. I don't goof around as much. I don't have a continuous stream of consciousness type chat. I try to tell you as much as I can on how to do it this way without giving you something that I just make up off the top of my head. I'm not going to make up stuff just to answer questions or to give you an answer that you might think you need. Okay? All right. I'll give you what I know from experience. And from experience, you have to experiment. I know from experience that you're going to have to experiment. Okay. So what do we have going in the chat? Let's see. Let's see. Limu, who is Limu? Are we using code in the chat? Do me a favor. I'm being serious. Don't use code in the chat. Okay. If you are talking about someone in particular, then just say it. Let's see here. All right, so we got a lot of chat that I missed. I'm looking for questions here. Okay. Marty says, hello, Patrick. Nice work on the stone and bone as always. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Aaron is here. Let's see. Who else did I miss? Jesse is here. Sam Fulks is here. Who else? Who else? Ross Wellman. Hey. It is Saturday, right? Stoneface. Voodoo Ranger message retracted. Okay. Voodoo Ranger says, been a while since I tuned in. How you liking the natural tools? The natural tools are okay. As long as I have material that responds well to what I'm using. Sometimes I get material that looks good, but it doesn't respond well. I'm using Axis Deer, which works pretty good actually, but sometimes the stone I'm using is going to be ruining my tools. I don't want to ruin these. I already chewed this one up pretty good, but it's holding out. This one broke last night trying to do something that I shouldn't be doing. You know, I shouldn't be working on tough areas of the workpiece with pointy natural tools. And this is the hardest, toughest antler I can get. This is even tougher than moose, I think. It's Axis Deer. Okay? But it still splits. It still breaks. It still causes me to perform a lot of maintenance. So I don't like it if they break, but if everything's going well, then, you know, I like the natural tools. Okay. Nothing is as good as metals, but I can get used to using natural tools and they're okay. Leopold says, good morning. Tommy Taylor's here. Who else? Who else? Let's see. What is the diameter of the striking surface of that antler? Says Lance McIlwain. There's two different diameters. Let's see. These are my two indirect percussion tools. The striking surfaces are very similar to my copper. They're just slightly larger. Like, I don't know, this is 1/2 inch, but the striking surface varies depending on where I hit. But just to give you the diameter of the tip, I think is what you're looking for. That's not the striking surface diameter, that's just the diameter of the tip. It's 1/2 inch here, and that's probably going to be 3/8 once I get this ground down. That's the diameter of the tip. It might even be 1/4 once I get it more pointy. But the striking surface varies. Sometimes I'll hit with the round on this side. Sometimes I'll hit with the round on that side. And it does vary, okay? Especially as it starts getting flatter this way, there's more surface area than on the side here, which tends to be a little bit more angular. It depends on how it's working. So the striking surface is not the same all the time, but I can give you the relative diameter. So this is a 1/2 inch, and this is, let me grind this down so I can give you an accurate tip width on this one. What I normally use. Okay, let's see. Now this is what I normally use. The bad part is there is a vein that's present in the axis deer antler. That makes it a little bit weaker, but I think that's the diameter I would be comfortable using. And it's not a perfect measurement, but I'll show you what the tip diameter looks like. The very tip is like a 1/4 inch, but as I go down, it gets to about 3/8 pretty fast. Okay, it has to be robust or it'll break. So that's why it gets thick really fast. And every time it breaks, I lose about 1/8 of an inch off the end just to get it down to this look. Okay, and I like to make sure that I can rotate it around as I'm napping. If it produces a dent or something in here, I want to be able to rotate it and maintain the same profile of the tip. You see what I'm saying? So when I'm holding it behind my knee, you'll see me rotate it sometimes and then hit with a clean area and then rotate it again and clean area will hit. The impact area is difficult to judge because it depends on how flat this is or how flat it's getting and how I prepare the edge. Like on a continuous edge like this, the impact area is larger than if I were to hit on this little protrusion right there. I don't call any of this the platform. This is just the edge. The platforms are on the flakes. All right. So I'm different from other nappers in that I don't tell you that the platform is on the edge here. The platforms are on the flakes. Now this one has a platform that was smashed, but it was here. Okay, that's where the platform is. It's important on flakes because then you'll know where it was initiated. Otherwise, you don't know where it was initiated, but you can tell where it is if you specify that it's initiated from the platform. And the platform can be complete or incomplete, smashed or whole. It can be bulbous or non-bulbous. Like this one is a little bit more bulbous. See that? But they can be flatter too. Like that. And these characteristics happen with antler or wood or stone or metal. You get these kind of characteristics with all kinds of different materials. These are not specific to the type of material that I'm using to nap with. Okay? You should remember that. Different tools can make the same exact flakes. Okay? There are some instances where a certain tool will make a certain look to a flake, but it depends more on the forces that you use than the shape or composition of the tool. Okay? And the angles as well and how you prepare the edge. There's other variables in there besides the tool composition. It's very important to remember other nappers will tell you that certain materials produce certain flakes, and that is false. You can achieve the same flakes with different materials. Okay? All right. All right, so let's see. Well, the next stage is a different mindset. I'm not going to use the same mindset that I used to get to this stage for the next stage. All right? The next stage is a totally different, well, maybe not totally different, but it is a different mindset. Okay? Ask a Hobo says, I just found out, let's see, that I have access to a bunch of flint. Still struggling with working it though. I've never done this before, but right now I need it for survival. You mean monetary survival? Making money? That'd be good. If you can sell rocks that are Make sure they're good quality. And then, yeah, you'll get lots of customers. Make sure that you are knowing what you're doing if you're going to sell that stuff. Which means I hope you're not brand new to Flintknapping and then try to sell stone, because you're not going to know what's good quality and what isn't. Okay? Just letting you know. I'm not trying to discourage you. I just want you to know that before you start selling it, you got to know what you're doing, or you're going to have lots of headaches from customers. Rightly so. Okay? There we go. Might be an echo. I'm just making sure I'm checking the volume. I got the volume set kind of low so I can make sure there's still volume going on in the live stream. Yeah, hope you can't hear that in the background. Anyways, so I'm thinning the ends down first so it doesn't break in the middle. That's the general strategy, always. I start with the tip because I only need smaller flakes. And I can get used to it. I can get used to the thinning easier with the smaller flakes. Okay. As far as this material, I want to see how it responds to this indirect percussion. Okay, all right. And I'm experimenting with the positioning of the tool on the edge. It's not always the same. At first I don't succeed, I tweak it. Sometimes it's the same. I tried the same strike over and over and over again, but most of the time I'm tweaking it slightly to see if it'll work. And once I get a nice flake, I start settling into that sweet zone where I'm going to try to duplicate the same conditions for the next flakes and see if it works. It doesn't always work because sometimes I get a lucky flake, but I don't know how I did it. Or I don't know what the conditions were that led to the successful strike. But I can try to duplicate it, and so far it looks like it's working. Yeah. So far it looks like it's working. All right, all right. And the same general principles apply when it comes to convexity. You can't escape the physics. The flakes like convexity and a perfect surface. If the surface has defects or whatever, the flakes don't like it. That's why you have something in knapping called flake over grind. Flake over grind grinds the surface perfectly so that the flakes become more predictable. Okay? You know, the knappers who use flake over grind, they will grind the surfaces with machinery so that they're nice and smooth and perfect. That helps to predict the flakes a lot better. In this case, what I'm doing, I'm trying to make the surface nice and smooth, but it's still not as nice as a pre-ground surface. but it can pass. And I can produce flakes that are fairly predictable as long as I have good convexity and a smooth surface and the material's consistent. Okay, all right. You can never predict 100%, obviously, but you can get close. When I struck at that time, I tried different positionings and different forces to see what would cause it to flake. Subtle differences. When the flakes break up like that, it worries me because this whole thing could probably snap in half if the flakes are going to be that delicate that they can't stay together. Most of them are staying together, but it could be that one slight wrong amount of force and I could snap the whole thing in half. That's what is the bane of every Flintknapper's existence. Yeah. Oh, yeah, broke the antler. And this is the strongest antler that I can get a hold of. Yeah, it's stronger than moose. I've tried moose. Now I might have to do a billet strike. Let's try that. The only problem is the accuracy suffers and I might snap it due to lack of accuracy. Might snap the whole thing due to lack of accuracy. But yeah, okay. That was good. I'm gonna have to repair that tool. Why didn't this break? Well, I've broken it before, right there, obviously, but it's a larger surface area. These things last longer. The fatter they are, the longer they last. Okay, so I'm hitting with an impact area that's similar to this as far as the impact area, but the size of the tool helps to strengthen it against breakage like this. Yeah, the accuracy is what causes mishaps, the lack of accuracy. It's harder to be accurate with the direct percussion billets. I find it much harder to be accurate. And yeah, you could isolate portions of the edge so it becomes more of a no-brainer, but then when you isolate, you remove too much of the edge, in my opinion. Because if you smash it and don't hit what you isolate correctly, if you don't hit it correctly, you've just wasted a bunch of edge that you took back just to get that to stick out. Okay. There we go. In that case, I was hitting the same way each time because the previous strikes just weren't doing anything. When it does something and I notice that it does something wrong, then I can switch But if it doesn't do anything, then there's nothing to go off of as far as what should I switch to. Like that one did something, but it didn't do it well, so now I got to switch to something else. Let me just get that out of there. That's an incomplete flake, so let me just get rid of that, or try to anyway. Yeah, that's just the nature of the stone. It's brittle, so I mean, it's extremely brittle. The edges are not perfect, so it could be a slight mishap due to the edge not being just right, leading to more crushing than normal. It can also be attempting to do a little bit too much as far as thinning. Right, I might have expected too much from that flake. I thought it was going to go, but obviously it didn't. And the more narrow it is, the easier it is for me to run flakes to the center, which is what I need for thinning. But I always try to maintain the width as long as possible until it's no longer possible to get good results. And then I make it more narrow. And, you know, stay within reason. I don't want to get it too narrow, especially if I'm making this to some sort of specification that has to be a certain width. There's no way I can go more narrow to make it thinner. So if I'm using a specification on width, I'm just going to live with the thickness. All right. The second hardest thing in all of Flintknapping is to make these things to spec. The first difficulty, or the most difficult thing is to thin down a piece that's already thin. You know, to thin it further is the most difficult thing in all of Flintknapping. You might say that, well, just to get the surface nice and pretty, get the flaking just right, might be the most difficult thing in Flintknapping, but I think that's the third most difficult thing. It's not as difficult as the first two. Okay, I'm going to stop there and check the chat. From here, I'm going to do a lot of pressure. I don't think I should go thinner than that because of the nature of this material and the fact that I'm using natural tools. Yeah, it's going to snap in half if I go thinner. That's what I'm guessing. So part of Flintknapping is risk management. I don't want to risk it. Yeah, I can thin this down without risking too much, as long as I don't get the middle too thin. I'm going to be doing some percussion strikes up here, but I need the edge to be prepared a little bit better. Yeah. How is it going to be better? Just a little bit lower. Right now, I'm lower, but it's very close to center line. I'd like it to be a little bit lower than that. Just a tiny bit. A tiny bit makes a big difference. Yeah. I don't need long flakes. If I needed long flakes, I'd keep the edge there because it's stronger as far as the initiation of the flake, and I can drive longer flakes. But I just want short ones that are predictable, so I'll lower the edge. Lowering the edge produces more predictability in the shorter flakes. Okay. And I like it beefy in the middle right there. All right, so I lost about a ½ inch total from the beginning. It was like 5 3/4 in the beginning. Now it's like 5 1/8. So a little bit over ½ inch. Or is it 5 1/4? I lost it mostly off of the base here, thinning it down. Yeah, it's 5 1/8. So it was like 5 3/4 before. So I lost more than ½ inch. Okay, so yeah, I can thin down the tip pretty safely, I think, with a combination of heavy pressure and some more percussion. I'll get to that in a little bit. Let me clean up because that's a different mindset. Okay. I think we're over the hardest part. Yeah, pretty much making this nice and smooth. I had to pick out some of those annoying step fractures. I don't know if I'll get that one out. But I picked out those little annoying step fractures at the end of the flakes with a piece of steel, with my steel pressure flaker. With this one, I pick out all those annoying little step fractures at the very end of the flakes. And I was picking at this one. I can probably put a lot of pressure on this and pick that one out entirely, but I don't want to do that with the steel on this video. Okay. I'm going to check the chat. I'm not going to stop napping too long. I'm just going to clean up a little bit so that I can take a rest before I go to the next stage. Oops. Okay. Take a break, I mean. Have some rest. And then look at it with renewed interest. Okay. No translucency so far. So as I was doing this, I was thinking about the difference between a blade like this and something that's, a blade that's, very carefully made compared to something that was just utilitarian with, step fractures in the middle and stuff. And I'm actually showing you how to make ceremonial stuff, if I think about it, because if I were just showing you how to make the everyday stuff, I wouldn't be paying this much attention to the thinness and the smoothness. I'm thinking that a lot of these artifacts that look almost perfect were ceremonial and not used except for ceremony. And in that case, it was just usually simulation, like part of a dance or something, and not actually used. But they had to be very nicely made. So I'm actually showing you how to make ceremonial stuff. Okay, that's what I was thinking. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I was thinking. Okay. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Mike says it's looking good, Pat. I could make a dinner with it. Nice. Stoneface says nice flaking. Thank you, thank you. It got me worried for a second there. I didn't think I was going to be able to blast some of that stuff out of there. This little patch, this lighter color, it appears like it wasn't. I was thinking this was going to be a problem, but it appears like it's not as much of a problem as I thought. There's no concrete in it. This looks pretty good, actually. The only thing that I don't like about it is the annoying terminations. They're all steppy, which is common with the heat treats, but it's still annoying. Yeah. And I'm only taking short flakes because at this stage, the possibility of overshots is very great. Yeah. Well, I don't want that. It's already pretty narrow. Okay. Jesse Garcia, Pat, what wood did you use on the bows you have going on or in building stages? Elm and hickory. Yeah, I'm using elm and hickory on my current bows, and I'm getting ready to make a bow out of Osage as well. Did you sent me some Osage, right, Jesse? I think you sent me some Osage. I'm gonna get that out. I have other Osage pieces as well. But yeah, just elm and hickory so far, and I can get that locally. I got some black locust locally, but it's old. It's got some dry rot, so I can't use it. We cut some dead standing trees over at Bushy's place, but it looks like it's too dry rotted. Um, so I'm going to use that wood for something else. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, just elm and hickory so far. Okay. I like elm better than hickory. Except for elm, you can't really shape it and have it stay in the right shape. It goes back to its original shape. So it has to be dried in a form. You got to put it in a form and strap it down to something that's already in the correct shape and let it dry that way. Rough out the bow when it's green and then strap it to a form so when it dries, it'll imitate the form and it'll stay in that shape. If you don't, it's going to get all wonky. I have pieces of elm that they got some wonkiness to them, but I'm still going to use them because I can make practice bows out of those. But elm is one of my favorites because for just precisely because it does retain its original shape. I mean, no matter how many times I shoot it, it goes back to its original shape the next day. I like that. Hickory doesn't. There's a lot of string follow with hickory, especially if there's moisture in the air. And you just can't get rid of it. It just stays with a lot of string follow. You just have to increase the brace height. Let's see. Talking about stuff you guys are making. Too many mosquitoes to post a napping video? Yeah, too many mosquitoes. There's a little bit around here. I'm glad we don't have too many. Let's see. What is the ratio on this? They usually shoot for 6-1. I don't think it's 6-1 yet. 45 millimeter across there, and then the width, the thickness at that, what is that, 9? we'll just call it 9. That'd be easy. So it's 5 to 1. Yeah, which is good. A lot of artifacts are 5 to 1. Okay, I'm shooting for 6 to 1. I might be able to get 6 to 1. We'll see. But I like that thickness for this particular material. It's delicate like obsidian. Okay. Let's see. Tony Williams asks, what's the thickness to width ratio? Or width to thickness? Yeah. It's width first and then thickness. So it's 5 to 1 right now. We got some new people asking questions. That's fine. What tool was that? Yeah. Hey, Danny and Doghouse. He was here for a little while. He says, later, folks. See you all in about an hour if I'm still here. Going home to walk the dogs. Got to leave that ground antler smell for a bit. Yeah. The whole shop smells like that ground down antler. Yeah. Burning. It smells like burnt bone. Yes. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. Just chat, chat, chat. No questions. Let's see here. Hey, Red-Eyed Patriot. Michael's here. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Yep. Let's see. Prairie Ghost Ken is here. Did I see you earlier? Okay. Let's get back to this and see what we can do about thinning down this tip area. Okay. Very dangerous. Very risky. Because of the natural tools, it'd be a lot easier with copper, yes. I'm going to try some pressure first. Yeah, just get a little bit persnickety on this tip area. All right, let's see. Hey, that's going to pressure flake good if that's going to keep up. If that's what I can expect. No, can't expect it. All right. Lucky first flake. Yeah. Lucky first flake. I need to sharpen this. It's too dull. I think it dulled down from the last episode from last night. I wish I would make it a little bit quieter machinery. But I think it's because of the hollow floor here too. It causes more noise because it's not a solid concrete floor. Okay, let's see. I can't make that antler too pointy because it'll break. All right, so let's see how that works. Yes. Yeah, that's not too bad. Make sure I don't install a curve in the tip. No. Okay, I see how this is going to go. It's going to act like a very spoiled brat heat treat. No matter how much I grind that, it's going to step pressure. Well, I'm going to take indirect percussion on that. Yeah. I'll be switching back and forth from indirect percussion to pressure when required, when needed. Yep. Let's see. Well, that didn't work that good. I can do that with pressure. See, I can do those with pressure and be more accurate without risking snapping off the whole tip. Yeah, pressure flaking is more accurate than indirect percussion. Overshot. Bummer. Yeah, those are a bummer. Okay. Cleaned up a lot of mess though, but dang it. It's not supposed to overshoot with such a small tip on this. Usually when I have a small tip, it does not overshoot, but dang it. Just can't avoid it sometimes. Come on. It's not going to do it. What's the holdup? The holdup is it wants me to do another overshot. Now I'm not going to do it. It wants me to hit too hard. Dang it. And the edge is not good on the overshot because it moves the edge too far the other way. I'm going to bring it back to center. And when I do that, it loses more width. I got to take some off the other side too for symmetry. So it not only affects the width on that side, but it affects the width on the other side because I got to make it symmetrical. People that like overshots, are, we used to, when we were kids, there were people that liked black licorice. So people that like overshots are the, remind me of the people that like black licorice. Yeah. No offense if you like black licorice. I'm just saying it's got the same vibe. Okay, so yeah, overshots are a consequence of thinning. They are not a technology. Okay. All right, now you don't want to go far enough. All right, let's see how it's going to go. That's why this process changes in mindset, because I can't use the same strategy as before, because it doesn't translate well from what I was doing before to get it to the point where it was. It doesn't translate to what I'm doing now. What I'm doing now is I have to take more risks than I was taking earlier. And yeah, because if I don't take risks, that's what happens. And I wasn't taking that many risks before. I can still get good results, but I can't get good results without taking a lot of risk now. That's one of the main differences between what's happening now and what happened earlier. In terms of mindset. It's not going to work. I got to go up to the next thickest. Yeah, because I have to hit hard. And I'll break the antler if I hit hard with the smaller tip. I'll break it. This one I won't break the tip. Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to get the tip thinner, but oh well. We shall see. It might not work. Yes. That didn't do it. That didn't do it either. It's not liking this next process here. It's not liking it at all. I'm trying to use the minimum amount of force. Intentionally using the minimum. And I'm just this side of, if I just hit just a little bit harder, that those might have gone, but since I'm not trying to hit hard, I'm holding back slightly. It's not liking it. Yeah, see, this doesn't like it at all. It wants me to hit really, really hard, and I can't do it at this stage. I gotta be sneaky about it. It doesn't like it when I'm trying to be sneaky. So I end up with these step fractures. All right. And that was something, the edge is getting thin. That's when the edge gets too thin, that happens. So there's various things I have to worry about at this stage that I didn't have to worry about earlier. Come on. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to ruin it if I keep going. Okay, so I think that's it. I got to just live with what I got. Yeah, I'm going to have to live with that and just pressure, live with it, whatever I got as mistakes, and just pressure flake it. Yeah. I can get the copper out and make it thinner. But I'm not going to risk it with the antler. Yeah. See, when the tools are fat, you need more force to generate flakes. That's the physics. It's telling me I'm not using enough force to remove flakes with such a fat tip. So use more force. It's telling me use more force, but that's the opposite of what I need to be doing on this material that's heat treated. Okay, with copper, I need to use less force and it produces less shock, and I can focus in on smaller areas and produce flakes that are wide from small points of impact. I can't get small points of impact with these tools. For one, this will break when I try to do that, and this one is just too fat. Okay. With more practice, I can get better at thinning, but that just takes practice. Better at thinning means that I can more I can better assess the limits of the stone and push the limits a little bit further. Right now, I don't want to push it, but with more practice, I can push it a little bit further and get better results. Yeah. This is kind of crunchy in this area anyway. I don't know what happened there, but I think it's because of there is a little bit of crunchiness in the material there. It just looks weird, right? So it's probably both the edge is getting too thin and it's a little bit crunchy. Different consistency up here near the tip. Yeah. I think I can get it cleaned up with pressure flaking. I'm still looking at possibilities of running a couple more big flakes with percussion. Yeah. I might be able to do it. It's risky though. I really don't want to break this on video. Okay. All right. I think that's as far as I'm going to go as far as pushing my luck. Yeah. The other flakes to thin it down are going to be much easier than that one. I got a couple more places. Yeah, that one was a lot less risky. Okay, so I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's my... I'm not going to take any more risks than that. There is a little bit of a boogery area there. Let's see. Come on. That's the way it's going to go, huh? That's good. That's good enough. Bill Taylor just got here. Okay, happy weekend. Yes. Let's see. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's going to be yet. Yeah, I'm probably not a Pedernales point because I've got to send in some thinning flakes for a Pedernales point, but it's too delicate for that. I can do a contracting stem point. Mm. See, if I have to do little flutes like a Pedernales, it'll snap it. It's too delicate. Uh, there's another point that has a, let's see, has a contracting stem. It's a style that I like a lot. Let's see. I'll have to look through every single page to find it, I bet you. We're already into the arrowheads. I cannot remember. Let's see. Bulverde. It might be Bulverde. Yeah, it's a Bulverde. It's got a contracting stem. I can do that. And it's got some thinning flakes I can do with pressure, like this one. And they came in large sizes sometimes. Yeah. And this is right in the area where these stones are found. I can do that one. I like this style here. Okay. What about notches? Yeah. I could do a Montel with notches. But let me get this pressure flaked and then we'll see. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the little bit more relaxed now. It's not the sweat stage anymore. I'm going to prepare the edge for pressure flaking. I am pressure flaking, but there is some more preparation that needs to be done. This step fractures really easily, even in the pressure flaking. Yeah, see, I can't avoid those. For some reason, one always sneaks in. All right. Some serious heavy pressure. Yeah, so serious that it took off too much. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the edge. It doesn't have a typical Bulverde type edge. If I'm going to make a Bulverde point or Bulverde, it's a little bit too flakery for a Bulverde. But I am going to make one, yeah. It'd be the easiest thing at this stage with this material. And I'll be able to get that out because I'm going to constrict this enough to where I can shoot in some flakes. Yeah. Exciting. So booger step fractures, man. Let's see. They got metal marks on it. I'm just going to try to get the metal marks out. Sometimes when I do this, it shines up the surface of the stone. So it doesn't look any better, but oh well. Anyways, yeah, there's a little bit of metal mark here. But that's all right, so no one can confuse this with a real one. Okay, let's do the basil shape and some final percussion to get rid of some of that nastiness. Yeah. The Bulverde is one of my favorite styles anyway, so yeah, it'll be good. All right, let's see if we can be gentle about this. No? No. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a good strike from the other side. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. All right. It did not overshoot. Sweet. perfect. Can't get too excited though. Not yet. We're not there yet. We got that nasty spot out of there. That's exciting. Okay. I think I can finish the rest of it with pressure. Yes. Yeah, this was the saving flig. Yeah, saved my butt. I should frame it. Let's see what's in the chat. I can make a miniature point out of that one flake, same as the big one. Yeah, but you're asking me to do something to spec. It's got to look the same from that one flake. Only get one chance. The thing about these Bulverde points, these stems are almost perfect. Just kind of like a Scotch bluff. They don't show that in the picture, in the book. But I think I have one Bulverde base. It's almost perfect. I got a bunch of broken artifacts that I bought from people because I didn't want them. I said, I'll buy them because I study those. They said, okay. And now they're getting harder to find. Yeah. It's harder to find the ones that are broken now because a lot of people are buying them for study. Some guys have lots of them, so they are out there once in a while. Oh no. Don't tell me we're going to go through that again. Yep. Dang it, I should have done percussion on that. Yeah, I should have done a percussion flake there because it was just too much for pressure. Yeah. See if we can overcome that later. I don't know. You would think, since I have plenty of room, that wouldn't happen. But yeah, unpredictable pressure flaking, that's my excuse. For some reason, I didn't predict that one well. Dang it. It's not easy to shoot across there. I mean, I can shoot across, but it probably won't get it. I'm looking at the chat, so in case you're wondering why I paused. I'm supposed to look at the chat with the other phone. All right, let's see if I can actually do this. Run a flake across there. I gotta thin that down anyway. But I don't like shooting it from the far side. Asking for trouble. Yeah. It's not gonna do it. Nope. I should stop messing around with the antler. Just use a piece of copper because this is going to get ridiculous. Yeah. If I don't change up my strategy, I won't be able to do it. See that? I'm going to end up with an island if I continue to use the natural tools. I can blast that away with a piece of copper, I think. With a copper a copper percussion flicker. Yeah. I should have been able to do it with the antler, but it's just too persnickety. Let's see. I'm going to just look at it and see if it seems feasible. I mean, I might do it. Dang it. Let's see. No, it's not going to do it. All right, so let's stop messing around. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. Again, we're messing around with antler. I can finish that off with copper. I'll break off the barb if I continue with the antler. I'm going to make that notch a little bit deeper, but I'm going to do it with copper. Okay. Yeah. It's wanting me to push way too hard with the antler, and it's gonna snap off that barb. So I'm gonna finish up with copper. Yep. I'm gonna cheat so I don't break it. One of these days I'll finish this. Yeah, okay. I'll stop messing with it. Well, I guess I don't have the copper. I gotta use the steel. I already sent my copper pressure flaker to New Mexico. Come on. I cannot see. I must be getting tired. I must be getting tired because those notches are no-brainers, and I'm still stalling it. That's okay. I'm wanting it to be too perfect. Yeah, I like the stems on these. How did they do them without steel? With more practice than I've got. Besides, the edges on the real ones are different too. They did bolder flakes to create the edges. Then I did little flakes. On the real ones, they're larger and bolder, similar to the Pedernales style. Yeah, I'm finishing up with steel because I don't want to break this at the last stage. Yeah. So on the real ones, they're very symmetrical. Yeah. I mean, the blades up here are not all that symmetrical, but the stem and the barbs, they look really good. Now, in the pictures in the book, some of them are kind of chaotic looking, but I think those are resharpened. Because the ones that I've seen in person are very, very nice. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, I don't want to mess with that. Got a nice taper. They're always thicker right here in the middle on the real ones. I probably should take another couple flakes to get a bolder flaked look to it. Let's see. If I take a copper percussion tool, I can do it. Well, the chances are much higher of being able to do it. Eliminate that right there. Yeah, do it better. Yeah, that's good enough. I don't want to mess with it too much. I could send another flake in, but I don't want to. I'll leave it as natural as I can, right? With the natural tool, mistakes and everything. Okay, that's it. It's today's Saturday. We got one more night of natural tools. And hopefully I'll be cheating on these less and less as we go. Okay. It's much easier if I do smaller points too. So if you don't want to see me using copper or steel, I can make smaller points. I just didn't want to break this big point because the big points are kind of difficult to do because of the material. It's hard to get big pieces without spending a lot of money. I mean, I could spend money and get big pieces, but I don't like spending that much money. No, no. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Thumbnail. Let's see. I've been trying to get good thumbnails for these. No, I didn't do the tip. Yeah, I kind of did. I didn't refine it all the way, though. It could be a little bit better. Yeah. Somehow I think I dinged it, too. It looks a little bit off, and where it didn't earlier. I might have dinged the tip with something. Anyways. I might clear it up off camera. It's not perfectly symmetrical. It still has that boogery spot from earlier that we need to take more off of this side. Or, just make this straighter and then take more off this side. It's all right. So yeah, it was good. That's it. I'm going to check the chat and say goodnight. Yeah. I like it. All right. Mark Ori says, I've been watching Patrick for years. My daughter would complain about the sound of the snapping, but I had to hear the voice of the man. I'm glad to hear you say that. That's a sweet point, says Sweet Blade, says Stoneface. Thank you, thank you. Good one. I'm glad you think so. I wonder if you stayed through the whole process or you went out and got some food, came back. It took me a while to do this one. It's been 2 hours and 45 minutes, almost 3 hours. Freak Ninja says, hey Patrick, does tonight count as Sunday because Thursday was Natural Friday? Just wanted to make you laugh because my chaotic ADHD OCD brain totally understood. I could skip it and go back to regular schedule programming tomorrow night. I could do that. I could do only copper tomorrow. But no, I need practice on the natural tools. And I know you're kidding. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see questions, so I'm going to call it a night. Okay, so that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. This will be available for sale in the auction on Monday. And if I do anything to it, I'll just make it more symmetrical. I'll straighten this out a little bit so there's no indent right here and then take more off of that side. But I might just leave it. If I do anything to it off camera, it'll be to make it symmetrical. But I might just leave it, yeah. That way I can say that you can see the whole thing on video. Yeah. Yep. It feels sharp, so that's what counts. Yeah, this would be a knife. Let's see, where are my knife handles? Did I give them away or did I sell them all? No, I still have knife handles somewhere. What did I do with them? Usually I show you how it's hafted. Where are my knife handles? I don't see. Anyway, I must have moved them. No, I got it. I could put it in something like this. That would look nice. Yeah. I made a new one yesterday. Yeah, this is a new one. But it's for shorter stemmed. The stem on this one's too long for this one. See, I made this one nice and thin. This one's thick. So yeah, I think it would be good in this one. If I were to haft it, that's what I would do. I'd put it in this one here. And with glue, probably only with glue, because it doesn't do much good to wrap this because it pulls out easy. Unless I went up on the blade a little bit with a crisscross, but I think these were hafted just with glue. The contracting stem points seem to be hafted only with glue whenever I see one in the archaeological record. So it just probably glued in, and that's it. Yeah, lots of glue, and that's it. I sold all my other knife handles. That one looks pretty good too. Yeah. Yeah, that would look good. Okay. That's it. See you guys tomorrow. Good night. Bye-bye.